in our time together today, we want to talk about home visits, because one of the most important jobs of a CDT is to visit their neighbors in their homes to share physical and spiritual truths. So we have set up already a CDT who knows her neighbor, who's coming to share some truths that she has learned. What I want you to do is listen to what's being said and what's going on, then we'll talk about it.
Karen, it's really good to see you today. The purpose of my visit is I really wanted to take some time and talk to you about Jesus.
That's fine, but I have a problem.
Oh dear, what's the problem?
Well, my son's been really sick with diarrhea.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Have you tried giving him a little bit of water with salt and sugar?
No, I've never tried that. Does that work?
It does. I've actually used it on my son, and it works all the time. Would you like me to show you?
Yes, I would.
Very good. Thank you. Good job. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what did you observe in this demonstration home visit. What was one thing you observed? Deb?
What I noticed was Nicole came in with the purpose of sharing Jesus with Karen. However, Karen's focus was on her son being sick, and rather than Nicole just going on with her agenda, she acknowledged and was sympathetic to Karen's concern.
Okay, so she really dealt with the concern, didn't she? She had an agenda coming in, but because of the problem, she dealt with that problem. And when you do a home visit, you want to be able to do that. You want to do it in that way. You just don't want to go through and do your evangelism if that's what you think you're coming for. Okay, what'd be something else?
One thing that I picked up was that Nicole, instead of merely telling her what to do, offered to demonstrate this skill for her.
Okay.
And so that, that sort of took a little bit of the threat out, and also she could be assured that way of seeing that it was done correctly the first time.
Okay, so she offered, instead of just talk about it, she offered to actually do it for her, demonstrate it, and then she could watch Nicole do it, and then Karen could watch and do it back. So it could be demonstration back and forth, couldn't it? So really important that there's that when you do some teaching, there's some demonstration. Okay, what else?
She also talked about her own experience and said that it was something she had used in her own house with her own child.
Okay, very good. It's critical that the CDT be a good model. And if she said, well, I've heard about this, but I've never tried it, then I don't know if the neighbor would have been very interested. So, what I want us to do in your small groups, I want you to talk about first I want you to watch this short video of visits. And we have a video that shows a couple of house visits. And I want you to come up with what would you do to do a good home visit. We've named a couple of things right here, but I want you to talk about what are some other things that you would do in doing a home visit. Then, when you're done, we'll come back and we'll talk about it. Well, welcome back. You've talked about what are some things that would make a good home visit. I'd like to just add a couple of other little things. One of the questions that always comes up is how often would a CDT visit their neighbor? And how long do you stay? And just some of those things. Generally, a CDT, the best time to visit a neighbor is when that neighbor has that particular problem. So if the CDT heard ahead of time that the child had diarrhea, then it would be good to go visit. Normally they're a volunteer, remember, and so they aren't going to spend 2 days a week or 4 days a week doing it. The most natural thing to do in most societies, other than the U.S., is you go visit your neighbor. Here in the U.S., we have to be invited to visit our neighbor, right? But overseas, it's expected that I will go visit my neighbor. And if I don't visit my neighbor, then people begin to think that maybe there's something wrong between us. And so the whole idea of visiting your neighbor is just part of their whole system. So as they visit, the best time to visit is when they hear that neighbor has a specific problem. Secondly, another time is probably they aren't going to be visiting a particular neighbor. If they get around once a month, that'd be a lot. And how many hours a week would they work? Just a short amount of time. If they visit 3 or 4 homes in a week, or 2 homes in a week, that'd be good. Because one of the things you noticed when I set up this drama, I said they've already talked, they've chit-chatted, they've had tea. A visit to a neighbor's home isn't just knock, knock, how are you? I'm fine, okay, see you. It's you go in, you greet each other, you talk about the family, you drink tea. So it's probably going to average at least an hour. And so if they can do 3 or 4 visits in a week, that's 3 or 4 hours. And that's probably pretty good. But home visiting is the main job of the CDT.